Ever felt like you're trying to fill a leaky bucket? You spend hours watching tutorials, taking heaps of fancy notes, but by the end of the day, it feels like nothing's actually stuck in your head. Let me tell you something that might sound a bit mental. The way you were taught to study is actually killing your intelligence. There's a method to learn so fast that people will reckon you're using some kind of illegal cheat code. The truth is, most of us are stuck in a constant cycle of frustration. You open an educational video on YouTube, swear you're going to focus, but 20 minutes later you're down a rabbit hole watching a bloke build a bush shack in the middle of the outback using nothing but a wooden spoon. Your brain starts the day stoked, but it's not ready for the hard yards. It's addicted to easy, fast hits of dopamine. You're not thick. The problem is your mental operating system is overloaded and zonked out on useless info that doesn't serve you. And if you don't change this right now, you're going to keep wasting time and feeling like you're not up to the task. But no worries. Today, I'm going to teach you the formula to retain information 10 times faster without losing your focus. I'll show you why your brain chucks out what you study and how to use your natural rhythm to be more productive. And listen closely, the third technique I use, which involves active content production, is the secret to turning any complex rubbish into something dead simple. But I'm only revealing the details of that technique a bit later, because if you don't clear the clutter from your brain first, it's not going to work. The biggest blue starts with your environment. Let's be real, no one learns anything properly watching a lecture at 2x speed while replying to the family group chat and scrolling through TikToks on a second monitor. That's not studying, that's just consuming entertainment disguised as education. And the worst part is, your brain buys into the lie. It feels busy and important, but in reality, you're just burning fuel for nothing. The human brain wasn't built to multitask. It works exactly like that dodgy old PC in an internet cafe back in 2006. If you tried to open a chat program while music was playing and a website was loading, the whole system would freeze up instantly. Your attention is a very limited resource. Every time you hop from one task to another, you're sabotaging your memory consolidation. In psychology, we call this cognitive load. Think of it like trying to carry 10 heavy Woolies bags using just one hand. Obviously, stuff is going to drop along the way. This theory was developed by John Sweller, and it explains why we fail so often. Our working memory is tiny. It's like a 2 GB hard drive trying to run a modern 80 GB game. When you try to do too many things at once, that HOD crashes. That's why you get that feeling like you saw a topic yesterday, but today you don't even know where to start. It's not a lack of memory, it's just too much junk in the process. A famous study from Stanford University proved that people who reckon they're good at multitasking are actually the ones with the worst performance. They lose focus faster, can't filter out distractions, and retain way less info than someone doing one thing at a time. You're just creating an illusion of progress while exhausting your mind. There's no point paying for expensive courses or binge-watching videos if you don't change your behavior. You'll end the day knackered and feeling guilty because you didn't get anything done. Before you open the next bit of content, do the basics that actually work. Close all the useless tabs, put your phone on silent, and focus on just one goal. Silence and full attention are the most powerful tools you've got to actually learn for real. Now that you understand why your brain is freezing up, we're ready for the next step. Let's figure out the real learning formula based on neuroscience that'll take you out of passive mode and turn you into a retention machine. Get ready, because what I'm about to show you is what separates the people who just watch videos from the ones who actually master any subject. To really change your game, you need to understand that real learning isn't an event, it's a chemical process divided into 3 fundamental stages. The first is encoding, which is when your brain receives the info for the first time. The second is storage, where it organizes those bits of data into mental folders. And the third, which everyone ignores, is retrieval. It's the ability to pull that info out of your memory right when you need it most, whether that's in an exam, a meeting, or an important chat. Now, this is where most people get it dead wrong. They think learning is just about consuming. They watch the class, make colorful summaries with pricey pens, and highlight the whole book with a marker. They reckon that because they understood what the teacher said, they've learned it. But if I ask you about that same topic in a week, you'll probably freeze and realize there's nothing left. That's because you only trained the input of information, but you never trained the output. Learning without practicing retrieval is like going to the gym just to take a photo in the mirror and then leaving. You see the equipment, you understand how it works, but you don't put in the hard yards for your muscles to grow. Looking isn't the same as training. Watching a study video isn't actually studying. To strengthen your long-term memory, you need something called active recall. Forget everything you've heard about reading the same page 15 times. Science shows that the effort of trying to remember something without looking at the material is what actually builds strong connections in your brain. Scientists call this the testing effect. Every time you force yourself to remember, you're giving your neurons a punch of dopamine and strength. Is it uncomfortable? Yeah, mate. Is it scary to realize you don't know as much as you thought? For sure, but it's exactly that discomfort that makes you learn 10 times faster than the rest. Give us a like if you've ever felt frustrated after studying for hours only to forget it all the next day. It helps me know I'm not alone in this battle against forgetting and that you're ready for the next level. One of the most powerful tools for this is the Feynman Technique. The secret is to try and explain what you've just studied as if you were talking to a 5-year-old kid. If you start using big words or get stuck in the explanation, it's a clear sign you haven't grasped the subject yet. This exercise forces your brain to fill the gaps and organize your thoughts logically. You don't even need anyone listening. You can explain it to the wall or your pillow, but it doesn't stop there. To make sure that info doesn't just vanish into thin air, you need the spaced repetition technique. Your brain needs breaks to consolidate what you've seen. There's no point smashing out 8 hours straight in a single day and then never touching the subject again. It's like trying to get ripped by training for a full day and then taking a breather for the rest of the month. You need frequency, mate. Study a bit today, review it tomorrow, and test yourself again after a few days. I promise you, if you apply what I'm going to show you in this final bit about active creation, you'll never look at a book the same way again. But first, understand that learning is a muscle that needs a rest. Even science proves that taking strategic breaks and getting a good night's kips are fundamental, so your mental ahead doesn't corrupt the files. If you stick with me until the end, I'm going to give you a map on how to organize all of this automatically so you stop fighting against your mind and start using it in your favor. The final secret that ties all these techniques together is what really separates the geniuses from the average punters, and the truth about it is much simpler than you reckon. Now it's time to hand over the final piece of the puzzle. Remember, I promised you a technique that changes everything you think about learning. Here's the big reveal. Real learning doesn't happen when you consume information, but when you produce something with it. Your brain only truly learns when it gets out of passive mode and gets its hands dirty. Understand that learning isn't like binge watching a series, it's like building a flat pack from Bunnings. If you spend an hour studying and don't come away with at least one practical note, a solved exercise, or an explanation recorded in your own voice, you basically chucked your time in the bin. The golden rule is clear: for every hour of consumption, there must be a real output of production. You could create a mind map, do a summary out loud, or apply what you saw to a real-life problem. This forces your brain to process the info instead of just swallowing it whole without chewing, and that's where the magic happens, turning passing knowledge into something that's part of who you are. But there's an even deeper secret that almost everyone ignores when they try to learn something new. People reckon they need massive bursts of effort, like studying for 8 hours straight on a Sunday Arvo. They try to use brute force, but they end up buggered and give up the next day. The real secret to mastery is that rhythm always beats intensity. Learning is exactly like brushing your teeth. You don't spend 3 hours brushing on Sunday to make up for the whole week, at least I hope not. You do it every day for a short time, but with constant regularity. The damage to your mind doesn't come from a lack of big effort, but from the absence of a simple routine. Science explains this through a concept called long-term potentiation. It's a biological mechanism that strengthens the connections between your neurons every time information is repeated frequently. In other words, the more you activate a memory in a spaced-out way, the stronger and more permanent it becomes in your brain. So, stop trying to flip the turbo switch once a month. It's heaps better to study for just 20 minutes a day for 30 days than to do a desperate 10-hour marathon and forget everything by the next morning. Swap the rush for consistency, and you'll see results that seem impossible to most people. To wrap it up, understand that you don't need to be a genius or have a freakish memory to learn fast. You just need 3 pillars: an environment without distractions, active recall techniques, and a steady rhythm. And most importantly, stop comparing yourself to others. Everyone has their own pace and their own way of walking the path. Learning fast doesn't mean knowing everything instantly, but having the guts not to give up on the process. Go at your own speed, test what works, make mistakes, and learn again. The world's your oyster, and it's waiting for what you're going to learn today.